Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, folks of all stripes, and distinguished guests, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans. From a diehard Houston sports fan, I'm the aforementioned. I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster. Feel free to add some more qualifiers, as many as needed to make that statement true. I'm an actor, improviser, writer, creative multi-hyphenate, and of course, and most importantly, I'm a proud Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. I am actually the child of Mama Ninfa's. Not Mama Ninfa, the person, Mama Ninfa's, the restaurant. You know, I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer here in Los Angeles, and now, I'm podcasting like everybody else out here. That's what happens when you hit about a decade in Los Angeles. You start absent-mindedly calling it the 10 instead of I-10, and you start podcasting. Welcome to said podcast. Space Cadet Sports started as a passion project because most media is infuriating as a diehard long-term fan of your Houston sports teams. Here we aren't doom and gloom casual fans or worse, the national media haters and avoiders. We love our teams and root them on, but also try to discuss the ins and outs of our team without too much homerism. The key word here, of course, is try. On today's episode, folks, we're talking about a Texans loss this past Sunday to the Denver Broncos. It's not fun. Not a fun game. 18-15. Not a high-scoring game. We'll get to it. We're also going to get talk to. I don't know. I'm talking to myself, talking to Carla. We're going to talk about your Houston Rockets. They're on a winning streak. And the Houston Astros hire a hitting coach. We'll get to it, folks. Lots to talk about in this episode. I'd like to welcome returning listeners and welcome new listeners to what my brothers call the Paul Broad Pod Ball Blog. Hey, brothers. Shout out to my brothers. Shout out to Arrested Development fans. Check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for the full blog experience, or the full blog experience, depending on your interpretation of my mumbles here. I did my vocal warm-ups today, folks. I'm just a mumbly mess always, but I swear I did red leather, yellow leather. We're recording this transmission here in sunny Los Angeles. I'm joined by my co-host and co-producer, as I always am, the Roz to my Fraser. Carla, the dog, is here with me today. She is on the couch next to me. I am worried that she is just going to pop off today. Everybody, the longtime listeners of the podcast know that Carla has the hot takes on this podcast. You know, I'm a little, while most podcasts are reactionary, I'm like reactionary to the reactionary. I try to avoid hot takes. I'll be accused of being a homer. Of course, I love the teams, but my whole thing is essentially that we've elected to be sports fans, and why be miserable? Like, most sports seasons are going to make you miserable. It's tough. But we're not going to just get in our emotions all the time just to get clicks. We're not going to chase the clicks, baby. Well, I'm rambling too much. All right, folks. Good day, mates. Let's get to the podcast. Before I could just ramble all day. This is a very tangential podcast. I am a comedian. I say that to remind you, just in case you forgot. Folks, I just don't want to talk about this Texans game. Texans lost 18-15. It's not very fun. Not a lot of touchdowns. Fairbairn missed a field goal in this one. Let me see. He was 5 for 6 in this game. So yeah, when it's this close, you'll hear things like that missed field goal. I wish we would have had it. But I mean, this guy is Fairbairn is like the franchise leader in points. The dude was 5 of 6. Yeah, of course we wish we would have had that one back. But I mean, we didn't score touchdowns in this one. It's hard. It's hard to win a game without touchdowns. So it just call me crazy. But, I'm not blaming the offense, the Fairbairn. I'm blaming the lack of touchdowns on this offense, if anything. Special teams was another standout in this game. We had Danico Autry got his, I believe, 14th career blocked kick in this game. I'm burying the lead. Obviously, the biggest news out of this is that C.J. Stroud I got a concussion in this game. I was became concussed. I was really reaching for my words there. Look, it's it's been a long day for me. I have no excuse. It's not early morning. It's not late at night. It's right in the middle of the day. I should be firing on all cylinders. I'm exhausted. I don't know what to say, folks. Bear with me. C.J. Stroud. Unfortunately, you'd hate to see it. Just a late slide there. The hit was from the back of his head on to the turf. That was rough to see, and obviously CJ was out for the rest of the game. He started off pretty strong in this one, going 6 of 10 for 79 yards. He did get sacked twice, but unfortunately, CJ's most likely going to miss the Jacksonville game, and hopefully not much more than that. Obviously, we wish CJ Stroud health. We don't want him rushed back. We want him to be back when it's safe for him. Honestly, I for a couple seasons I had trouble following the Texans. I mean, they were awful, so they made it easy for me not to follow football. But also just with all the player safety issues with the NFL, sometimes it's rough. Thank you. So obviously, a guy like C.J. Stroud is going to be missed on a team, and a team that is sliding to 3-5 and needs some wins desperately. You need your best players out there. You want them out there so you can win games. But at a time like this, you really think of the human more than the team. And concussions are no joke. I've had concussions. Obviously, earlier I couldn't stay on topic. I'm so tangential. That's just my personality. Maybe a little ADHD. I don't know. But obviously the joke is that you can tell I've had concussions. But the fact of the matter is they're not to be messed around with. And we hope CJ the best. We don't want him rushed back. We're hopeful that he can be healthy soon so that this team can execute on its offense and get some consistency there. But that's not to want him back at the expense of the player's health. So Davis Mills came in the game and was a pretty good game manager. He didn't give up any interceptions, but he also didn't score any touchdowns. Had a QB rating of 68.3 in the game, with his longest throw was 16 yards. CJ's longest throw was 9, I believe, in the game, so it's not, but just matriculating the ball down the field a bit in this game. But there was no touchdowns. He was 17 of 30, so he got lots of opportunity there for 137 yards, 4.6 yards on attempt for Davis Mills in the game. But just no touchdowns, folks. I mean, there's nothing against Davis Mills, who's a good backup. Graham Mertz, I think people were singing his praises in the preseason, but I'm not sure if rookie quarterback is the answer. A guy like Davis Mills has been called in. He's been given contracts as a backup from the Houston Texans front office. So he should be playing backup. This offense from Nick Caserio has been struggling this season and hasn't found much consistency. And having to have Davis Mills in there, I think, didn't get look as flashy as it could have, especially against a defense like Denver. That's part of it too. You have to give respect to your opponent, and I think a lot of people are so quick to poop all over the Nick Caserio offense because it hasn't been great this season, for good reason. Because we've watched it with our very own eyes. Of course, we're going to be quick to criticize the offense. But I guess what I'm saying, too, is they were playing a really tough defense. It was a tough one to score touchdowns against, but my goodness, they needed to score some touchdowns in this one. Just seeing CJ go out, it just was tough. And, there was a lot of online banter about that. A lot of people, not happy with the Texans defense playing as tough as they do. The Texans defense have knocked some quarterbacks around. So there's been a lot of teams just waiting to dunk on the Texans. I'm always one to say you're never making fun of somebody when they're injured, and it just is a little tacky. So don't engage in that stuff. I haven't cared this much about slides since I was in elementary school, it was tough to see, but, it was not intentional. There was no reason for, the extra penalty. It just sucks. But, so we're wishing CJ best health, and we're looking to see what Davis Mills can do against the Jaguars in this upcoming week. But before we completely do, this game, we could look at it a little bit. I have Woody Marks on my fantasy team, but I smartly put Woody Marks on the bench this week, knowing it was going to be a tough one on the ground against the Denver Broncos defense. And my goodness, they held Nick Chubb to 37 yards and Woody Marks to 27 yards. They both had Woody Marks had 10 attempts. Nick Chubb had 11. Just nothing was able to get going on the ground. I kind of was mentioning that we, in the podcast, kind of previewing it during Paul's picks, just saying how they needed to get the ground game running, that going. That's just how Nick Caselio's offense predicates on that. They are able to spread the ball around, but the offense just really was tough to watch. With that being said, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk about the Houston Texans trade deadline. A little bit more Texan stuff, more Rockets, and more Astros. We'll be right back.
Houston Astros, Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
And we're back. Welcome back, folks, to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm your irreverent host, Paul Salazar Jr. Welcome back, returning listeners. Welcome to the people that just tuning in at odd times in podcasts. You're welcome as well. We're talking about the Houston Texans losing to the Denver Broncos. They're now 3-5. I said it in the last week's podcast. If they lose, we might break out the I need to tee this up correctly. The official Space Cadet Sports Houston Texans panic meter. It's time to break out the panic meter. Where are we on the panic meter now that we are 3-5? CJ Stroud is out with a concussion. We're about to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. The panic meter is saying, pray. I believe. Are you quoting MC Hammer? Panic meter? Well, yeah. Either way, it's right. Yeah, I think it's time to say your prayers. I don't know. That seems a little more morbid. Say your prayers, but it is time to pray. Time to find a religion for this team. Look, the season isn't completely over. This team could find a way to get a wild card. This team could find a way to even compete for the division if the Colts fall off. But, for that to happen, I do think there will have to be some prayer involved. First things first, they need to win some football games. I believe it was head coach DeMeco Ryans said, quote, "We can't talk about playoffs until we play football better," end quote. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So right now, the panic is starting to set in. There's not many football games in a season, folks. Being 3-5, that's not exactly the start you want. This team is going to have to dig itself out of a hole to get to 500, and then they're going to have to compete. And they're going to have to do that with CJ Stroud in concussion protocol, most likely. So I think it's time to find religion. Moving on from the official Space Cadet Sports Houston Texans panic meter, we are looking at the stats from the game against Denver. The highest targeted receiver in the game was Nico Collins, which that's good to see. You want to get Nico involved. He was had 7 receptions for 75 yards. Dalton Schultz had him beat in yards with 6 receptions and 77 yards. Christian Kirk was able to pull in 4 catches for 26, and they were able to spread the ball around to many different targets in the game, but no touchdowns. No real my texts are coming in. Need to silence those, but it was a tough one. But Dalton Schultz had a long one. Sorry, that's a 47-yard play, I believe, for Dalton Schultz. But yeah, and I'm like, some of my stats I wrote down might have been wrong about the longest yard. The longest yard, the Adam Sandler film, or Burt Reynolds film if you're older. Sorry, but I definitely wrote something down incorrectly there. But we'll get back to it later. Look, I'm a comedian. I'm an old man. I'm doing my best here. Sorry, folks. Obviously wrote something wrong as the longest throw in the game. My bad. At least I figured it out as we're going. Carla, look at me. Look at what we've done. She's my research department. I should have done better, though. That's on me. Look, folks. The Houston Texans, at the trade deadline, were in a holding pattern. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Look, who or what did you want, right? Did you think we should have been buyers at the trade deadline? Do you think the Texans should, at 3-5, should have been buying talent like the Colts getting Sauce Gardner? Jacksonville Jaguars adding a receiver? Or do you think at 3-5 the Houston Texans should have been sellers? There's people that believe this, that say, you know what, the season's kind of looking tough. Sell some of the 1-year contracts, let the kids play, and let's compete. I'm not saying like completely give up, but some people are like, sell the contract. Let's get more flexible, get more financially flexible, play some of the younger talent. And let the chips fall where they may. You drafted these people because you believe in them, right? Anyway, I don't really know right now because I want this team to compete. I feel like they have talent. I feel like if they start winning, and some of the other AFC South doesn't have a great end of their season. I could see a road to the Texans being able to climb back into playoff contention. But, I mean, I also understand that this team, it's kind of, seeing that they're taking a step back, you want this team not to be mediocre. You wanted them to get to the next tier. And this team has struggled to get into the next tier. I don't know. I mean, I think really at the end of the day for me, I don't know what I wanted to see out of them, but kind of no movement just seems. I think anything would have been frustrating because this team has just been frustrating to me this season, honestly. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought you wanted those teams, Nick Caserio, general manager Nick Caserio, to do at the trade deadline. Definitely I think you got my feelings, got in my emotions there for a little bit. Let's move on to the Rockets. The Rockets are doing some good things. Since we last talked, the Rockets did beat the Celtics. I mentioned that in a previous podcast, I know, but just throwing that out there, seeing that we're having an official Rockets block here. They had 30 points, 30-point lead at some point. The 3 points were just raining in that game. KD looked really good in that win. It was 128-101, beating the Celtics. And then they beat the Mavericks just a short couple nights ago, and Klay Thompson is in his emotions about that. I'm in my emotions about the Texans. Klay Thompson was in his emotion about the Mavs, that's for sure. In this game, there was no Bari, so you had Tari in there. You had some good Terror Twins defense in this game. The Rockets were able to win 110-102 in this game. Much closer. The Rockets are now on a 4-game winning streak, but beating the Mavericks was a much closer, a much spicier test for these Rockets. Amen Thompson in this game was great. At one point, he missed a shot, got his own rebound, threw it back into the fray, kind of from the dunker spot, received a pass, and just is looking like he's just all over the place, just with an inbound dunk there. It's good to see this Rockets team start to figure it out. At one point in this game, it seems like head coach Ime Udoka, he's gotten kind of his rotation set. He's no longer starting the quad big. That was fun to start off, but obviously he's going with a smaller lineup in these games. Sorry, 1 second here. Josh Okogie. That's who it is. I was struggling to think of Okogie's first name. But yeah, Josh Okogie really has been great in the starting lineup, going with the defensive lineup, going with the smaller lineup over the quad big. And without Jabari Smith Jr., you had Tari Eason step into that lineup against the Mavericks. And Reed Shepherd, love him or hate him right now, he's definitely had some mixed results. But at one point in the Mavericks game, it was close. It was looking tight. Coach Udoka put in Aaron Holiday over Shep for a little bit. And look, he went back to Reed Shepherd. But it does seem like when push comes to shove, they're going to go with the veteran over Reed Shepherd right now. It's not like the Reed Shepherd experiment is over or anything like that. I do think the team wants Reed Shepherd to get these minutes and figure things out. I just think at the end of the day, if the game's on the line, it looks like Aaron Holiday right now is getting a little bit more preferential playing time, I guess is what I'm going with. But yeah, I dig that. I think I want Reed to evolve. I want him to get some minutes. I want him to figure it out. I think he can, but I do think, yeah, if it comes to the game being on the line, I want Holiday out there. I spicy take. I agree with the head coach of an NBA team. But that's where it's at. The Rockets are looking good. They're right now they're first in 3-point shooting. They aren't quite in a top 5 defense, but they're in a top 10 conversation right now for their defense that can shake out differently with as games are being played. But their defense might not be at the level that it was last season, but they are starting to figure it out. And there was a moment in the Starting 5 Netflix documentary that kind of stood out to me. I've been watching that with Sarah. Listeners of the podcast know that's my fiance. We love her, but yeah, she's besides just roasting my ass in Pigskin Pick'ems this season, she actually really likes Starting 5. She's like following some basketball a little bit more because of the storylines in that, getting to know KD through that documentary. She's known Harden as an NBA player and liked getting to know him better. but anyway, she definitely has been following the Rockets this season because of starting five, and there was something KD said in that was a whole reason I started this whole tangent. But Kevin Durant was just basically saying that to win a championship, you need buckets, you need to score, and that kind of goes against the modern not modern, or at least the my generation's take is like defense wins championships. Whether that's a fan's take, or players take, whatever. That's kind of like my generation's thing, and so it kind of butted up against that knowledge that I believe in, or that point of view I believe in, but the more I was like, yeah, I hear what he's saying. Defense is effort, and you should be able to go out there and give a good effort when you're at the top of your game and you're an athlete in the NBA. You should be able to give a good defensive effort, and as a team, the defensive effort should be high. So it's like I get what he's saying, and I do think that Coach Udoka will be able to figure out a way to get this defense to be a little more cohesive and to kind of figure it out as time goes. And I think Reed Shepherd being out there is tough sometimes, and that's no disrespect, to Mr. Shepherd, to the tax man there, but that's just the reality of the situation. Is he is a liability out there at times. He is the reason why they like to go zone a lot instead of man. But I do think if they have a system and Reed figures out how to use it, he could be out there a whole lot more and can be effective. It's just a matter of figuring it out and playing to strengths. And I think he is having to figure it out right now. But I have some faith in him. Plus, Dorian Finney-Smith could be joining the team too. So look, this team's defense could get a lot better. And that's not saying that it's terrible. It's good right now. It's just, from the people that have watched the last couple seasons, it's like this is not the elite defense that we saw with our old team from last season with Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks. But this is a different team, right? But I'm loving what I'm seeing. Can't wait to see more Rockets games this season. Moving on to some Astros before we wrap up this podcast, folks. In some big news, Chas McCormick was outrighted to make room on the 40-man. Former World Series hero Chas McCormick, pour one out for the homie. Gonna eat some meatloaf in his honor for sure. But the writing was kind of on the wall. I thought Chas McCormick was going to be traded at the deadline. Sadly, just because of the way his season went, there just wasn't a lot of teams wanting Chas McCormick. Hopefully Chas can find a home somewhere and start competing. There was one year that the preseason prediction polls were saying he was like in the top 10 of the left fielders going into I believe it was the 2024 season. I think, he definitely, or maybe that was 2023. But, Chas McCormick definitely had some great shining moments for the Houston Astros outside of that World Series catch. Just he really was a great contributor. He was a fun guy to watch. We wish him the best. But other people that were outrighted to make room on the 40-man is Luis Garcia. Luis Garcia, another one that's hard to lose. Truthfully, people say that he is a casualty of the pitch clock, and in some way it feels that way because he had the long rock the baby wind up. He also ran into some injury problems since that. So, it's the injuries too. It's not just a pitch clock. But we're going to miss Luis Garcia. Miss that guy as well. Other names, Kennedy Corona, Pedro Leon, a couple of outfielders, prospects that really kind of never quite got a big opportunity or was able to make an opportunity for themselves happen. Also John Rooney, pitcher, last season. So, we lost some players there. Also, big news, Hunter Brown is a Cy Young finalist. He's one of the top 3 finalists for AL Cy Young, which means the Rockets, my goodness. Sorry, we're talking about the Astros now, Paul. The Astros are going to have a compensatory draft pick in the first round for the PPI eligible Hunter Brown. We talked about PPI. Look, we'll probably have to talk about it again. I don't want to get into it. Look, there's only so minutes a podcast can be, right? We're like at 30 right now. So we'll talk about PPI another time. I feel like it takes 10 minutes to talk about. But we're proud of Hunter Brown. Good to see that. And also, when we're talking about accolades, got to mention our guy, Dubon is the AL Utility Gold Glove Award winner. And you love to see it. And moving on to some... To some coaches, some hitting coaches, and some movement. For those of you who know, Alex Citron and Troy Snicker were fired from their hitting coach jobs for the Houston Astros this offseason. Alex Citron actually already got another job in South Oklahoma. That's right, he's working with the Rags. He's now with the Texas Rangers as their hitting coach. So, we knew that he'd land somewhere. It's just, it's so funny that a team like the Texas Rangers that has such a little brother syndrome with the Houston Astros is, King Louie over here. I want to be like you. They're taking our scraps. Obviously, saying that out of the side of my mouth, Alex Citron we knew he was going to land somewhere. I'm surprised it wasn't Boston, but it's the Rangers. There you go. And with some Houston Astros news, Victor Rodriguez is looking to be the new hitting coach, or one of the new hitting coaches for the Houston Astros. That's being reported on right now, as well as officially, breaking news if you're, listening exactly when I drop this podcast. CJ Stroud is officially out for the Jags. We knew that was coming, but it's officially official now. But getting to the Astros hitting coach, if I would have told you that the Astros hitting coach was going to be filled by somebody from the San Diego Padres organization from last season, I'm sure many Astros fans would have been nervous. I'm talking about Martin Maldonado. Of course, it isn't Martin. It's the hitting coach for the Padres, Victor Rodriguez. And this guy's kind of been around a little bit, bounced around from some different organizations, but they have had success. He was a assistant hitting coach for the Boston Red Sox 2013 through 2017. He worked with the Guardians 2018 to 2023 and started working with the Padres in 2024. So it does seem like he has had some success in his first couple of seasons, and then has moved quickly on from the job. And I don't know what that says. I don't know what that means, but, it does mean that this organization has found some value in Victor Rodriguez here, and we'll see. We'll see how the fans treat him. The hitting coach has been under the microscope lately, and this offense for the Houston Astros is going to have to turn it around. So we'll see how that goes. We'll definitely see what type of a welcome he'll get in Houston. We're hoping for these Rockets to keep going, keep doing great. Let me know what you think about the Texans and what they did at the trade deadline, which was goose egg, Definitely let me know that. With that being said, that's going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Please like, rate, review, subscribe, share, bop it, kick it, skip it, smash all of those buttons for me. We are a small podcast and only go as far as our listenership takes us. We are supported by listeners like you. So please share with a Houston fan or Australian in your life and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen. Let me know what you think about the Houston Texans at the trade deadline. Reach out on social media. Let me know at Space Cadet Sports. Or you can call in. Leave me a voicemail if it isn't too crazy. I'll respond to it, or maybe even put it on the podcast and you'll be famous. reach out at speakpipe.com/SpaceCadetSports, or you could leave a comment on the blog. That's right, on the Substack, spacecadetsports.substack.com. Once again, you could go there, support, become a subscriber, get we have a premium subscription plan on the Substack, but 99% of what I do is available for free on the Substack. That premium subscription plan is essentially just a nice way to help pay the bills around here, so I can keep doing this, so I can keep recording these things, so I can keep buying treats for Carla. Go check out the Substack, spacecadetsports.substack.com. If you want to support, but you don't want to do the Substack, you don't want to subscribe to me because it's just too shameful, you can get some merch. That's right, we have Don't Sleep on Houston t-shirts. We have Carla the Dog hats in H-Town Blue. You can find that at paulsalazarjr.net, because I'm nothing but net. And if you've made it this far, yeah, I mean, you must like some kind of weird avant-garde comedy. I don't know. You can find me making more weird stuff like that. Memes, art, podcasts, so much more at Paul Salazar JR on social media. Once again, that's paulsalazarjr.net, where you can find my other Substack. You can find all my other nonsense if you're nasty. I'm getting another update here. It looks like Jaime Fairbairn is also expected to miss his matchup, miss Week 10 against the Jaguars. That was kind of expected as well, but now we know officially. But you can find all my other nonsense, if you're nasty, paulsalazarjr.net. Thanks so much for listening. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos Houston.